What's up? Welcome back. Tailboard Misfits podcast with Firefighter Nation. I'm here with Preston Lyons of the Relentless Rejects podcast. We got another Q&A type of thing going. We're going to address some hot topics of the fire service and just honestly just have a good conversation. Me and Preston are good friends and feel like that adds to a good flow for some conversation. Preston, dude, how are you doing?
Feeling really good. Colorado, summer vibes. Everything's good. Everything's looking real nice. So how about everything down there in Texas?
It's already hot, so we're gearing up for another hot. At least it hasn't rained. We went I feel like 7 days straight with storms, so the sunshine's nice.
I need to clarify something with you real quick. What is cold in Texas, like temperature wise?
Anything below 32 degrees.
32? Okay, I thought you were gonna say maybe 60 because I remember when it got cold out there, you guys were freaking out when they had.
Not for me. Like I'm gonna throw some a hoodie on when it gets below 50, but other than that, and you're gonna have people, right? You're gonna have certain people that are gonna complain about it, but not me. I'd much rather be cold than hot.
For sure. Yeah, you guys got a different kind of hot too. I don't think I would be able to survive out there.
Yeah, I think it's already started to hit 90 out here. It's pretty warm during the daytime. So, but like I said, it's the sunshine has been nice because we went through a week with some pretty bad storms, and so it's been good. It's been good.
Nice, very nice.
Let's see what else, Preston. I've been thinking a lot about the topics we're gonna get to, and we're gonna get to them here pretty quickly. But as far as anything you have going on your podcast, I wanted you to drop that real quick. You've been pumping out some excellent episodes with some excellent guests. So whatever you have up on the works, probably in the past at this point, why don't you tell us about it?
You know, I just recently had John Spira on the podcast from Fit to Fight Fire, and I tell you what, having people like that on a podcast, it makes it so easy as the host. John Spira is a unique individual. He's very inspirational. He's been doing his own thing, and I kind of just brought him on and let him run with it. And that's one version of what I like to do with the podcast. People that already have these mega platforms. And I try to bring them on for people that maybe don't know what his background is to get some perspective of, yeah, the Fit to Fight Fire platform is awesome, but who is John Spira? What's he all about? And we actually talked a lot about his own failures, dealing with the fire service and family, and his journey of going through the Georgia smoke divers and realizing that that's not where he needed to be. He needed to be with his family, and straight up got up and walked off in the program. And to be humble enough to come on any kind of platform and talk about that, it's extremely humbling and inspirational for me to know that a guy that's been pushing fitness and faith and family and all this stuff to be able to feel comfortable enough to go focus on his family over the fire service, because us into the job firemen, we're struggling with that. I think with social media and the networking and the mini conferences, it's great, right? But what it is actually doing, it's creating an internal pressure on us to constantly meet this national bar that's now being set, which is great because that bar is improving the fire service. But now it's starting to potentially sway us left and right from our priorities. And that's a big direction of the podcast right now. In addition to guys like John Spira, you know, I got a guy I'm actually recording with later today. His name's Will Hegedus. He's a FDNY guy, and he's a strong man. He's not your typical CrossFit style fireman. He's a big dude, but he also preaches you can be a strong man, but also have functional fitness in the fire service. And he also talks about, because the big message that they're pushing is getting in your gear, training in gear, because it's the ultimate equalizer. That's Logan Broberg's thing, right? Training in gear is the ultimate equalizer. But I'm going to bring on Will, and we're going to talk about different types of fitness and conditioning and just being a bigger guy in the fire service and overcoming that narrative of, that CrossFit style endurance, and talk about what he's doing over on the East Coast and how he's influencing the fire service. So a lot of cool stuff. We got a lot of guests for pretty much their whole year. It's gonna be fun. But my whole thing is just to bring on guys that want to tell their story and gain their perspective and how they're influencing the fire service.
Well, you're doing a great job. So I wanted you to speak on that because you're pumping out episodes, seems at this point, weekly. And some of the guests, you have a good way of getting some of that really good personal information out of them. So I appreciate that from you. Full disclaimer, my allergies are jacked up today. So I'll probably wipe my nose several times. Before we get moving on, guys, we don't have sponsors. We don't have anything like that. So if you find value in this show, please just share it with someone. Send it to someone. Share it with your friends. Share it with your crew at work. Share it on Facebook or wherever you watch it at or listen to it at, because that's the only way we're going to get the word out. So just make sure you share the show. Preston, I'm gonna let you run with this first because you, for me, like you are I don't know if you would say this, a social media mentor for me. You've helped me quite a bit with some of the stuff. And we're talking today about recruitment and retention. And first of all, we're going to talk about recruitment and what we're doing wrong and where we need to focus and stuff like that. And I feel like one of the biggest areas that we're lacking in when you look at departments across the nation is a social media presence. And so I just kind of wanted you to take off with it and we'll get somewhere with it.
Yeah, it sounds good. Thanks for tagging me in on this because, yeah, I think more people often than not know me for my social media presence. I ran the Fit Fire Fortitude page prior to switching and rebranding to the Relentless Rejects and taking off with the podcast. I want to get one thing straight first. When the phrase social media, right? It's been taken out of context from what it originally was meant for. What did we used to call it? We called it social networking. You know, back in the day of MySpace and when Facebook first took off, it was a great opportunity for us to connect with those childhood friends we lost along the way growing up, right? Like people we went to middle school with, elementary school, you know, our aunts and uncles on the other side of the coast. It was a great way for us to share what we're doing in our life and we can see what they're doing in their life. And it was a way for us to come together and stay in touch with one another on a bigger scope other than just through phone conversations or meeting face to face. With the evolution of now social media, I think it definitely has a lot of benefits, but people, in my opinion, are using it improperly. Social media now has become the number one way people get their news. I mean, think about COVID, right? Everybody was finding new different articles from the CDC and the White House and all these other people. And they're like, oh, this is what we're supposed to be doing now. This is what we're doing now. This is what this company's doing. This is, you know, and it's like, that's not, in my opinion, that's not what you should be using social media for. Social media is for us, let's say for firefighters like us, passionate about our craft. Our department is this little cup, this little speck on the radar of the entire fire service. The fire service is so big. FDNY is doing different things in LAFD, Washington State, Florida, Colorado, in the middle of the country, different tactics than Texas, different cultures. So I honestly think social networking for the fire service is huge. And that I think will segue into recruitment there is where fire departments are lost. The glory days of 9/11 where recruitment was easy. Everybody wanted to sign up to serve, whether that was the military, law enforcement, the fire service. It was so easy for fire departments. They had thousands of people lining up and applying to the fire department because at that time, that's where people wanted to be. If you look at statistics now for the job service, especially the Gen Zs coming into the workforce, they're more wanting to be social media influencers. They want to get into tech. They want to work for Elon Musk and they want to work for SpaceX, which is great. But that means we have to go get the good candidates. We actually have to put in the work. And fire departments, once again, have not caught on to that fact that people aren't lining up. And now we're not getting the best candidates. We have to put in the work. There is a shortage, especially a paramedic shortage in the fire service where we're just not getting the candidates that we want. People are getting into academy and quitting in the middle of academy, at least in my part of the country, because it's not what they thought the fire service was. Now, when you get people that are dropping out of the academy and they're saying, I didn't think this was what we were going to do, and this is the fire service, that's recruitment. You're not advertising what your organization or the fire service is properly, and now you're getting these people that are like, oh yeah, I'll put in for the fire department, I'll try it out, and then they get in and they don't enjoy it. Recruitment, I think fire departments need to. It's difficult to find those blue collar workers, right? When we're talking about line firefighters, we're doing blue collar stuff. There's a little bit of white collar mixed in with, because customer service and professionalism will always be at the top. We're the cream of the crop when it comes to professionalism and customer service. But we get our hands dirty, and those are the kind of people that we need. A combination of both. So, in my honest opinion, there's people that, like myself, went into the military after high school because we didn't have a ton of options, didn't want to go to college. So, if we're not getting those people out of high school, we need to be grabbing those people out of the military. I've never seen any kind of fire department at a military transition out of the military, class or program or anything like that. So we're dropping the ball with our military personnel. Those are the best. I mean, the Navy in general, they're already trained in basic firefighting skills when they're in the military. That should be a pipeline for the fire service. And there's probably a fire department out there that understands that and they're doing it. But I think nationally, we're not doing a very good job with that. How about college athletes? People like you and I have a story of, we thought we were going to go pro. Imagine if we went into college and we didn't get that phone call. We didn't make it to the pros. And now we're scrambling to find a profession. The fire service is perfect for those individuals that are competitive, athletic, self-driven, motivated. They're already in great shape. So the fire departments need to go knocking on college doors. Like, let us come in and just talk to your people about transitioning into the fire service, because we want good people. And also they're getting an education, right? So we got perfect combination of fitness and education sitting right there in the colleges. And then lastly, once again, the high schools. Same thing. High school, they're playing sports. They don't know if they want to go to college. The fire service usually, and from what I've experienced, you just need a high school diploma. And then you got to go get your EMT. But there's a lot of programs that are actually now teaching EMT. We just want people of character. And we'll get you your EMT throughout the academy. There's a lot of departments doing that that I've seen. And that's the number one step that we're not doing in the fire service that fire departments need to be addressing, is utilizing social networking to advertise for their department and seek out those top candidates at the colleges, in the militaries, and high school. What are your thoughts on it?
I feel like we're slowly, at least in like my current area, like right where I live right now, the high school is teaching a fire academy class. And so throughout like their junior and senior year, they can go to, in high school, they can graduate with their, Texas Commission on Fire Protection certification. And so they're getting taught by local guys who work for departments around here. And I mean, like, that's a recruitment tool right there, right? But like you said, the other thing that you said that I was kind of curious about, and I don't know if they had anything like that when you were going through, at the department I work for now, we've actually had 2 or 3 people come through as they were transitioning out of the military, and they did like pretty much like an apprenticeship with us. And so they were coming down while they were still in the military, and they practically worked for the fire department while still being employed by the military. And they eventually would test with us, and then go through our orientation process and stuff like that. So everything you said, like, I 100% agree. We need to be targeting colleges, like college athletes, and then high schools, right? Like, those are the 2 main things. But the military thing, that was a thought that you had that's good, because you have that perspective on it.
Right. And I remember I talked about reach, right? You don't necessarily have to go to every single community college or high school in your jurisdiction, because that also, once again, gives you a limited area, a limited jurisdiction. Obviously, do we want homegrown firefighters? Absolutely. To have a firefighter working in the community that they live in, I would imagine they would take a lot more pride in their quality of work that they put into the fire service if their family is in the same jurisdiction, right?
Yeah.
Let's touch back on social media one more time. For one, I think fire departments are doing a little bit of false advertising. I addressed this on my social media page the other day. Was it's okay that a lot of departments do EMS. 80% of our job is EMS or more, depending on where you're at, or it's zero or very little, depending on if you're a big city fireman or something like that. But I do not like seeing certain fire departments using generic video footage of firefighters in structure fires. Let's say they're cutting a roof with the flames licking out from the shingles while they're cutting, and like join ABC fire department and be a hero. For one, don't put hero in your advertisement, because once you get on the job, you realize that you're not a hero. You're just someone trying to do their job and trying to make an impact. It does not make you a hero. And to be called a hero, it also puts this like unwanted pressure for us to be something that we're not, right? But be truthful and let the people know what they're signing up for. If I sign up for your department and I think I'm going to get on roofs with smoke billowing out, and then I get on the line and your department says, "Oh yeah, we don't cut roofs. That's not what we do." Okay, well, I signed up to go do some hood rat stuff with my friends, and you're telling me that I'm not even going to be able to cut roofs. Yeah, that's right. Now go over to the medic unit, because you're going to be there for the first 3 to 5 years until you get some seniority, and then maybe we'll transition you onto an engine or truck. And I'm not saying every fire department does that. What I'm saying is, if you're going to use social media to advertise and to recruit, be honest. And the reason why I say that is because people like you and me, John, that have our own platform, I am accountable for every single thing that I post. And it's a lot of pressure for me, once again, and I addressed it, to stay connected, to stay in the job, to continue to network, to continue to be a part of my craft, and to get better every single day. Every single day I have to, in my own heart and soul, feel like I have to keep pushing it, because this is the platform that I put myself on. Fire departments need to embrace that as well. Whatever you put out there, you have to own. And I'm going to stall while you're going to blow your nose. All right. So, but also on top of that, I think departments are not creating quality content. Everybody wants to talk about the millennials and the Gen Zs, right? And how they're more tech savvy, and they get all their education from YouTube and, once again, social media. We'll embrace it instead of knocking your personnel for being so connected to their phones or tablets or whatever they use. Encourage that. That is a unutilized tool. Your boots on the ground are out there, and I'm not, obviously have parameters. Be like, don't be taking photos and pictures of a structure fire while people need you. Like, go to work. But if there's a lull, or if there's a training going on, encourage your personnel to create content and put together reels, because that's what we're good at, right? Different content. And then obviously put it through a vetting system, have a PIO, have a human resources manager look over it, and they can add in whatever caption they want. But your admin personnel generally are not always boots on the ground. They're not out there. They're not at the trainings. They're not in the firehouse. They don't see the culture. So why not put that power into the people that are actually involved? Let them create the content. Don't come out with these social media SOPs that says you are not allowed to take any pictures or videos. Instead, how about say you can take pictures and videos, but any type of content that you have, send it to our PIO and we'll vet it, and then we'll post it onto our fire department page, instead of knocking guys for doing what we do best. And like I said, millennials and Gen Zs, we're good at the social media. So just let us run with it.
Yeah, I think there's so many different, like, it's a multifaceted thing when it comes to social media. Like, right, like now that's where everyone advertises everything at, right? So you have to have somewhat of a social media presence. People, like the other day, someone was asking me if we were hiring, they didn't see anything on the Facebook, right? They didn't even go to, in Texas, right? We have a job description or job listings on the commission's website, on the Texas Commission's website. And they didn't even go to that and look. They went to Facebook. And speaking from personal experience, like, I think my department does a pretty good job anytime we go to a good call or a fire or something like that. But there's hardly ever any like good videos and pictures. And what I'll add to that is like, if you have resources there, like you said, don't be videoing or recording or taking pictures when people need you. But if you have resources there that can do that, like allow them to do so, right? Um, I know we've had some great footage from some fires. Like, you are so blessed if you work for a fire department that goes to fires often and can be able to have content. And speaking from personal experience, like, we have that ability. And I personally don't know the legal ramifications to posting a house on fire, as a recruitment tool, or even as like a, hey, they went to a structure fire yesterday or whatever. But like, people like yourself and like myself that want to go to fires, and they go to a Facebook, right? And all they see is, nothing really, or maybe it's just some, hey, it's EMS week or whatever. It's National Firefighter Appreciation Week, or a bunch of PR stuff. And there's nothing about the fires you go to, or nothing about the wrecks you go to, or anything like that. Like, that could be a turnoff for them. The other thing is, like, just like you said, kids learn nowadays through YouTube, through Instagram, through shorts, myself included, right? Like, that's where I turn to now if I want to learn something, straight to YouTube. So we have to be able to put content out there. And like you said, I love it. We need to use the resources, which are our boots on the ground. Like, we were talking the other day, right? Like, your department utilizing you. And I'm not even saying me, I don't have like this huge social media presence, but like, there's someone in my fire department that has a huge social media presence, right? That is a recruitment tool. And we should be and I get it. I get the administration view on it, because you don't want them posting vulgar content or inappropriate content and it be tied to your department or your organization. But like, if it's vetted, just like through whoever it needs to be vetted from, like, let it happen. Yeah. There are departments out there, and some of the ones that close to home, like Houston, Station 19, Dallas has a bunch of like individual Instagram and social media pages, right, where they're posting the calls they go to, the trainings that they're going to at a station level, right? And that, not even talking about the buy-in and the pride that creates at that station or department, right? Like, now you work for, Houston Fire Department, Station 19, right? And you're getting to control the content that you put out. And I don't even know if theirs is vetted or not, but like, they're putting out appropriate content. You know what I mean? So it is super underutilized. And I think, like, just like you said, the people that you should be listening to about the stuff that you do. And I only say this because, like, you don't want to make your department look foolish, right? So there might be some pictures that someone that has absolutely nothing knows absolutely nothing about the fire service or what we do or the trainings that we go to or what's appropriate, come by and take pictures, and they post it and they try to make their own thing, and it kind of makes your department sound dumb, right? Mm-hmm. And so if you give us the freedom to create those things and then let you vet them, like, that's such a better way of doing things, right? Like, I think that's a big key that we're missing, because you could totally tell the Facebook posts that are created by firemen that know what they're talking about versus it being created by like a dedicated social media person that may not have any clue about the fire department or the fire service.
Well, that's exactly what Chief David Rhodes said at FDIC, right? He said, a lot of fire departments are creating boring content that, no one's following, no one's being inspired by it. And that's where we're failing with recruiting, and he's talking about, Smoothbore Cartel, Firehouse Vigilance. Those pages are making a greater impact on the fire service than said departments, right? And to take Cooley Moore, for example, there's probably more people that just want to go work for the Moore Fire Department in Oklahoma just because Corley's there and they see what he's doing on social media. So imagine if fire departments were to embrace that a little bit more. And for anybody out there wondering why we're talking about social media so much, is because that is free advertisement. Free advertisement. You put in a little bit of work. You can just use your iPhone, chop up some clips, put them together, put a cool little song on there, and post it out there. And if people find value in it, just like we said in the start of this podcast, share it. If you find value in it, share it. That's how you get the free recruitment. That's free recruiting for you. If you got to put something out there of value. Once again, if you put a flyer out there that says, you know, you know, not happy Memorial Day, but like Memorial Day with an American flag and all stuff. That's great, but no one's going to share that. You know, it's the stuff, like I said, it's the boots on the ground. And let's take out the fires and the MVAs. Let's take out the calls because of sensitivity, right? We don't want to violate HIPAA. We don't want to show an address. We don't want the public getting pissed off. But how about a station tour where elementary kids come over and you pull the engine out and you got the lights going and you see the reactions of the kids. And then you show a firefighter bunked out, pulling out a hose line and spraying water in the air and the kids all having fun. Like, that may not embrace aggressive firefighting, but it shows that you're involved in the community. You take pride in what you're doing. And once again, throw some music in there. And it's like, oh man, look at what they're doing. Like, this is cool. I would love to be involved in something like that, because as a father, right, I would love to see my kids involved in the fire service. And I would love for my kid, if I'm a fireman, to bring them by the firehouse and be able to do these things with my kid. You know, you're reaching different people on the content that you create. It doesn't have to be one specific way you make content. It doesn't have to be all fires and cutting roofs and forcing doors. It could be other stuff. But once again, free advertisement, it's shareable, and you get, once one person shares it that follows your organization, shares it to somebody that doesn't follow your organization, but they say, hey, look what so ABC Fire Department is doing. Now you have a follower. Now you have someone that's going to see, hey, we're hiring lateral firefighters in October this year. Well, I see what they're doing on social media. Maybe let me do a little bit more connecting with some people out there. And maybe this is a home for me. Maybe this is what I want to be a part of. You know, so once again, that's why we're addressing the whole social media thing.
Well, I could just prove your point here is like a department that's nowhere near really either you or me. Justin McWilliams from Search Culture, Clackamas Fire Department. Like, dude, I see their stuff shared all the time because they post solid content of a description of what they did, arrivals, everything like that, plus pictures and stuff of the fires that they go to, right? And I'm sharing it in Texas, right? And now, you know, like, we've had, my little department's had people come from all over the country, and how they find out about us, I don't know. But now you have people maybe wanting to relocate because of that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Not to mention that, like, you know, everyone, you know, there's sometimes tabletop training involves watching videos, right? And we do the thing that we're best at doing, and that's armchair quarterbacking. But in all reality, it's a pretty good training concept. Is the one that sticks out to me is Stockton Fire Department. Like, they put out some solid content on YouTube, and they have everything like arrival order and what they have, their dispatch stuff. They even throw the address out there. Like, I don't really know what like I said, I don't know the legal ramification of throwing an address out there is, but you know, they have, if you haven't seen it, just type in Stockton Fire Department on YouTube and go watch a video. Like, it's amazing. So it's all a recruitment tool though now. Mm-hmm. It can be used as such and shared and watched hundreds of times. And, you know, when you're talking about recruitment, like, clout goes a long way. And now, like, Stockton Fire Department has some freaking clout because they're posting the fires they go to and pretty much a critique online for the world to see. And they're obviously confident in not screwing the pooch a lot on their fires to be able to put that out into the world. And they're doing things, you know, to their standard. And, you know, you could tell it's just a great department when they do that. So,
yeah, and the thing about continuously posting and putting your name out there, your brand, because an organization is a brand in the fire service, you're creating word of mouth sharing, right? Once again, like, you're no longer having to go knock on doors and beg high school students to come work for you. You're just doing what you guys do best and letting the whole world see it. And people are going to find value in it. If you're doing a good job with it, people are going to find, like, word of mouth sharing has more credibility than just seeing some random ad on a commercial, or like the department pays for an ad for Facebook to post it, like, or on YouTube, right? Tell me this, when you click on a YouTube video and you get those ads in the middle of a podcast or whatever you're watching, you can't wait for that thing to go away. So that's not where it's at. It's not like, I can't wait for that 5-second countdown to go away so I can skip the ad. I don't care who's talking. It could be the most valuable thing ever, but I don't want to watch it.
Well, and then, like, somewhat close to me at least, I think of a department that never will probably not anytime soon have any type of recruitment issues. And it's because of the people that work there, honestly. because they have a presence in the fire service and on social media, and that's the Colony Fire Department,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like those guys, when they do hire, they're hiring, one or two spots, and not to mention like they're not lacking in applicants, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's also because their department does a good job at putting out the stuff that they do.
Yeah.
And they're up in the Metroplex, and I can't really speak. I'm not saying that they don't go to fires by any means, because they do, but like they're posting a lot of stuff that isn't their fires. They're posting about trainings and stuff like that. You know what I mean? And the developments that their departments have with training and their new drill tower and their burn house and everything. That's all recruitment tools that they're obviously, which they have an upper hand because Chief Thompson is obviously their chief. But like
America's chief.
Yeah, America's chief. And they're able to put out a hiring post, right? And it's shared hundreds of thousands of times, and they're not having a lack of applicants. I can promise you that. They have it figured out in some way.
Right. And they're only a 4-station suburban fire department.
Yeah. I mean, they're not big.
But you touched on something. We're going to elaborate more on the retention, but I want to touch on this. And I think fire departments have it backwards on this as well. Fire departments think that they need to raise their salary and benefits, which is, yeah, absolutely. I love a good salary and benefits to get those top candidates. But once again, the millennials and the Gen Zs are not the Gen Xers. The Gen Xers historically wanted to find a good career, and then they never left. That was their one place. It didn't matter if it was a good culture, bad culture. Culture wasn't a thing in the work industry back then. They got hired on, they stayed there, and they retired, and that's it. Millennials now don't 100% care about pay and benefits. What do we care about? Work-life balance, being happy to go to work. Just
having a purpose, being valued,
a good culture. I want to come into work with a bunch of like-minded individuals and feel like I'm serving the community with people that actually care. I don't want Joe Schmo in the recliner who's been here for 20 years and saying that's not how we've done it line when we're trying to make change. Like we're an ambitious generation because of the fact that we have so much information at our fingertips, and we've already name drops a handful of departments and people that are making an impact, and we want to be a part of that wave of the fire service. And if your department is not in tune with that, they're not going to stick around, or they're not going to apply. Like you just said, the Colony Fire Department is a small suburban fire department in Texas. I don't know what their benefits are looking like, but Chief Scott Thompson gives a shit about his people, and he goes out and he actively recruits the people that he wants to work for his fire department, which means that the culture on the line are a bunch of dialed in people that serve the community. What fireman doesn't want to go to that department?
Right.
They got it. They got it down. They know what's attracting the new applicants in the fire service now.
Anything else you want to hit on with recruitment? Because I think we've hit a lot of it, and especially we beat the nail a lot when it comes to social media. But it's just so impactful when it comes. It's the biggest recruitment tool that you could have, honestly. And that, like you said, it's a form of word of mouth advertisement, and I think it's so important. I can't stress it enough. Like, I haven't been at my department for very long, and I could put together a badass recruitment video for my department with videos I have saved on my phone over the last 3 years, right? That's just me. Not to mention everyone else that has, across all 3 shifts that have all this stuff, saved or on their phones or at their email or whatever. So I think that's like the number one tool that people are missing. And just to recap, like, focusing on the military, high schools, college athletes, getting out to those things.
One last thing I'll touch on with that is the PIO. In my honest opinion, I think the PIO should either be a firefighter from the line in your organization or a former firefighter that you're not afraid of putting in front of the camera. You can go out to the local colleges, people that have a degree in public speaking or whatever, and put them in the PIO position. They are probably never going to be able to translate what is happening on the fire ground when a news camera gets put in their face better than a fireman who knows the district, knows their jurisdiction, and knows what is actually being done at the time. No disrespect to civilian PIOs, but unless you're getting on the rigs and riding with the crews and you're sitting at the kitchen tables and you're showing up to all these events, I honestly think a firefighter should be a PIO, whatever that looks like, on call PIO, the battalion chiefs, or someone on light duty, whatever. But we are also doing a disservice in our PIO position by hiring civilians that don't know anything about the fire service.
Agreed. So switching the focus a little bit to retention, and retention is, I feel like, what established firemen care about more than anything, right? What the department is doing, what your specific department is doing to keep you there. And there's a long list of things. And just to get it out of the way, there are people that you will never keep at your department. There are firemen out there that care more about their side job, that are going to go somewhere where it's slower, where you get enough pay and the benefits are good, and you will never keep them at your fire department. Those are not the people we're trying to target here. We'll never keep those kinds of guys. But when it comes to retention, I personally believe, and I want to hear your thoughts on it, that people, specifically the people that are getting into the fire service now, and even guys that have been in the fire service 15 plus years, they want to go where they feel valued, where a lot of the bitterness comes from in the fire service and in fire departments from the older generations of guys that still have the concept of loyalty in their heart, like you were talking about, that want to go to somewhere and stay there for the rest of their career. A lot of their bitterness comes from not being heard and not feeling like they're being heard. And that just means like they're not feeling valued by their current administration, right? They've suggested things that never happened. They've gotten in trouble for, little nuances that shouldn't be getting in trouble for. And at the root of it all is they do not feel valued. People do not care what you know until they know that you care, right? Mm-hmm. And so to be able to feel valued by your administration, to the sense of feeling valued, the sense of having a purpose within your fire department will keep people there, in my opinion, longer than anything, longer than pay, longer than benefits. Everyone says like this is a calling, right? And I personally believe that. And it's not about the money for me, but one of the main reasons that I stay with my department, I'm married and have 3 kids. Like it would be selfish of me not to go make more money somewhere else. But one of the main reasons, and thank God that my wife's on board with this, is that I feel like I have a purpose in my fire department and I serve a purpose in my fire department, and that I do feel valued from chief officers, my officer, stuff like that. And I'm curious to know, like, what do you think about retention, and what more or less, like, specifically, what keeps people at their fire department?
So I have a few points on this one to make, but first, and I've made this point before, you might have heard it, but it's how we treat our new people on day one. And before I go down this tirade, I want to say that I am all for firehouse jokes, pranks, and razzing the new guy and all that stuff, because honestly, like, when you're the new person, everybody wants to know what you're made of. They want to know if you can take a joke. They want to know if you can handle the pressure in the firehouse, because if you can't handle the guys giving you a little hard time in the firehouse, how are you going to be inside the structure fire when I give you an order and you start breaking under the pressure? All right. So everything that I'm going to say, I am wholeheartedly for all that stuff, the firehouse pranks. But let's talk about the journey of the new person before they even get hired, right? I don't know about you, but I got hired on in the mid 2000s because I joined the military first in the early 2000s. And then I thought I was going to be able to walk onto a fire department. But what I didn't realize was I was going up against thousands of applicants still at this point in the mid 2000s. So it got very competitive. I tested and I applied to probably a dozen fire departments. It was extremely stressful. And every time I got an interview, right, I had to get in my suit and tie. I had to learn within 48 hours, probably everything I could about that department, what their mission statement, core values, all this stuff, and go in and be able to regurgitate it in an interview and then delete it and do it again for the next department the following week, right? Let's say you're that candidate that finally gets that job offer, right? After months, weeks, whatever that looks like of going through that process, you finally made it. It's a lot of weight off your back. You finally got a job, a career. You're in the fire service, right? You get your date to go to the academy. You get fitted out for your gear, and then all of a sudden it is full speed go. Now you're getting blacked out. You're pulling hose. You're throwing ladders. You're wearing an SCBA pack for hours, and just getting beat into the ground. But it doesn't matter because we made it. We're so proud to be a fireman. We're telling our moms, dad, we're posting on social media, right? I'm a firefighter now. I serve the community. I have a purpose, right? We get through academy. We get to graduation night. Whether you have a spouse or your parents there, they come up on stage and they pin that badge on your chest, right? It's the proudest moment of your life up to this point. The lights are on you. They show a video of you guys in the academy. Everybody's watching and laughing. You got your music and all this stuff, and it's nostalgic. And instead of riding that wave of the person being the most proud, they get their shift assignment, and then their first moment in walking into the firehouse, they want to make a good impression. They got their like breakfast burritos or whatever, and immediately someone says, I want you to be seen, not heard. Shut up. We don't care where you came from. I want to hear your stories. Run the calls. There's the toilet. There's the coffee pot. Get out of my face. Right? That's just, and I'm not saying that's every organization, but there may be some senior individuals that had been treated that way. So that's kind of a tradition, as we beat up on the rookie a little bit. But for a year, now they're like the firehouse janitor. They have to do all the reports. Any mistake that's ever made, the crew makes sure that they know they messed up. And it gets to this point where the rookie's like, this isn't the fire service I signed up for. I signed up for a brotherhood. I thought this was my family. But yet I'm here, I'm cooking, I'm doing dishes, I'm doing chores, and I'm running a bunch of calls that maybe don't like light my fire a little bit. And then what? Now they're looking for another job. Once again, they may be looking to lateral to another department, which is incredibly hard to do anyways, or they're getting out of the fire service as a whole. That is the biggest mistake that I've seen in the fire service. And once again, it's not every fire department, because me, as coming up on a senior guy, I got 9 years in. I am now trying to mentor and embrace those rookies and protect them from those mutts that are beating up on the rookie. And I'm giving them an opportunity to lead and train, but that's not the common way we treat our rookies. I don't know what your thought is on that.
Yeah, I think like I said, I could really only talk from personal experiences when it comes to that. I know that there's like this stigma around the fact that we do treat our rookies like crap, and I'm sure that it happens more times than not, right? And at my old crew, like we had several new guys rotate through, and first day type of thing. Tell them like, we care way more about you being a good fireman than we do about you being a good housewife. Now, saying that, throughout our entire orientation, we tell them like, your job in the firehouse is to go back and watch a 1950s movie, find the woman in there, and you do your best impersonation of that throughout the entire time you're a rookie, right? Like, you are the 1950s housewife at first. And, we do, put a lot of that stuff on them, but that's the expectation, right? Saying that, we also do a really good job at helping them, okay? And I used to tell them, like, our crew specifically wants to see you take initiative to go start cleaning the kitchen by yourself, to go see you start cleaning the bathrooms by yourself. If you do that, we will help you. If you're being a little shithead, right, and you're just kind of waiting around twiddling your thumbs, someone's going to do it for you. And I'm not going to say you're going to be written off, but you're going to have an uphill battle to gain that influence back, right? And so once you do that, and now you're with us next shift, okay, you might not be the person to initiate cleaning the bathrooms, right? Because we saw that you have the initiative to do that, and you're going to do it as well. Side note, I do think that there's a opposite side to that, right? Like, you can't let the rookies come in and get relaxed. They have to be on point. And I have a funny story to tell. And we had a new guy. He's not a new guy anymore, but he come through our station, and he tells me, because I had done a lot of his new hire stuff, and he tells me, he's like, Velez, bro, he's like, I'm kind of disappointed. And I'm like, why? And he says, well, I kind of assumed that I would be getting, crapped on throughout my entire rookie year. I thought people were going to be mean to me. He said, people are like, we say that the fire service is paramilitary. He's like, and I really haven't gotten that. I've been disappointed. And the captain was standing right there, and I started scratching my head. I was like, oh man, you shouldn't have said that, dude. So it's like from then on and the next shift, right? Of course, I had to tell the next captain. He was working the next day too. I told that captain, I was like, this is what he said. And, they poured it on him all day. And they said he handled it until dinner time. And finally, the captain was like, all right, bro, like, that's what you wanted. It's over with and done with now. Like, now we're going to focus on what's important. But it's just like a funny thing, right? Like,
Yeah.
these guys do have expectations. And I'm not going to say all of them want that, but like, you have to hold them to that standard, and you can't let them get relaxed because they need to know what's expected of them for when they do become that older person. Because now that was ingrained in me as a new guy to step up, take initiative, then the crew will follow in, right? Now I'm teaching that new guy, but if I were the one to slack off and be like, hey, like, expectations are pretty low, bro. Like, you just do what you want to do. And now that's getting passed on to the next generation, to the next generation. So there is a standard to uphold there. And so you do want to be hard on them, but not in a sense of being malicious and making them feel like crap and calling them names. And I'm all for pranks, right? Like, hey, rookie, don't forget, here in Texas, it gets hot. Like, don't forget to go ice the tank, right? You got to keep the ice, everyone knows the fire goes out with cooler water. Like, so we're handing them 5-gallon buckets of ice to pour in the tank. You know what I mean? And stuff like that. Like, I'm all for it, but there's a very good balance that you must follow. And I think appropriately treating these rookies, and when you are hard on them, or they do give you a reason to kind of get in their face and, kind of chew them out a little bit, like, dude, just make sure they know that you care about them first. Like, make sure that you communicate, like, I'm telling you this because I care about you and I value you, and you need to understand that that's not acceptable. This is what needs to be done. Because if I just come at you, Preston, and be like, dude, you really screwed up here, like, you're worthless, this, that, or another, like, you're just going to be like, man, Velez is an asshole. I don't really care for that guy. And you're not going to listen to anything else I say. But if I come to you as like, Preston, dude, I think you're a great fireman. You're doing a great job. There's just some areas that you need to focus on. And I don't want this to become an issue for you down the road. Like, Velez is actually looking out for me, and he values me as a person more than a fireman. And now I'm going to be more, likely to listen to him. So you're definitely, I agree with everything that you just said, like 100%.
Well, yeah. So here's the thing. Like I said, like you have to put the rookie in certain situations in the firehouse once again to make sure that they are going to operate like that on the fire ground and gain the respect of the crew. Right? If I know you're racing to the phone or you're trying to get coffee before someone else does, or you're the first one up and emptying out the dishwasher, that's all signs of a good character. If you don't follow those traits, yeah, you're probably going to get a little bit more disrespect from the crew because they don't appreciate how you're disrespecting their firehouse. I
Yeah.
completely get that. What I'm saying is, instead of, and I don't, no way they're going to be relaxed. Absolutely not. That is definitely frowned upon for the rookie. But instead of the expectations of, hey, you're the one that mops and cleans the bathrooms at this time, and you clean the coffee pot, and you do the chores, and you cook, and then you do the dishes afterwards. How about that? How about this? Look, hey man, you just got out of academy. How about this next set? I want you to teach VES, ladder placement, ladder packages. You're going to teach it. And that gives them a little bit of pressure in a different way. Or after a fire or a pretty significant EMS call, you do an after action report and you have the rookie start it off by saying, hey, break down everything that you experienced, break down where your wins and losses were and where we could have been better as a crew. And you give them this platform to take pride in ownership in their craft instead of being the house janitor. Obviously, the first couple of weeks, we got to run you through the house chores, make sure you're actually a person of character that we want to work with, because 70% of our job is making sure we have a good roommate in the firehouse. If you got a shitty roommate, now it's a place that nobody wants to work. So I get what I completely agree also with what you're saying. But my point is, when we're talking about retention, is that rookie that comes to your firehouse, they're coming in this high, so proud of the organization. Instead of beating them up and tearing them down, they already got that in academy. They already got torn apart in academy. Yeah, it was all ifs to shit, and they got their certifications, and we got to teach them how we operate on the fire ground. That's stuff we can't control. What we can control is allowing that person to lead, be a good follower, and then lead, teach, and take ownership in the things that they do in their daily life in the firehouse, immediately their pride is here, and now it's here. They're taking pride and ownership in the organization, instead of, oh, well, now you're here, we're going to tear you down and ridicule you and make you feel like crap, and then now you got to get built back up.
Mm.
We're missing that. We're
Yeah.
missing that. So obviously, have expectations. They got to earn their right to be in your organization and gain your respect. Absolutely. But don't focus so much on the teardown. Don't focus so much on the chores. I'd rather have them out on the bay floor forcing a door for hours instead of making coffee for me. I can make my own coffee. I want you out there. I want you out there training.
I think that this kind of goes on to not just rookies, but even like I personally believe that retention starts at the company level, right? People will put up a lot of stuff as long as their microculture is really good. So as a rookie, as a new guy coming into a crew, if you are a senior guy on that crew, the driver, the officer, like I'm not a company officer, but I have an opinion on what it looks like, right? And I love John Maxwell, and one of the things that he says is every new person he meets, they start with the number 10, right? They're 10 out of 10 in his book. And it's up to that person whether they stay at that 10 or they're going to drop some points, right? And I think us as established firemen, as senior guys, as a company officer, if we can look at those rookies, the new guys, the apprentices, whatever you want to call them, or the new guy on your crew, and you just put a big 10 on their forehead, and through their actions, right, they either stay at that 10 or they're going to drop, right? And so if we can do that, we're going to treat them as such, because once again, I think it's Maxwell again. He says something along the lines, if you start treating someone as what they should be, they're going to start acting like that. But if you treat someone like they're low-level scum, chances are they're going to act like low-level scum, right? So you have to treat them like they're that 10 on their forehead. And I love that. I love that. I think that, like I said, I think kind of a good segue to the company level as far as retention goes. And I'm going to hit back on this because this is most important. And I think at the company level, we can do a lot to keep our guys. And really, that's everyone wants a sense of purpose and wants to feel valued, right? It means the world to me. And this happened recently, and I think I shared this with you guys, is like I got traveled out. My captain texted me, hey, next shift, I want you to teach victim drags and a little bit of search to the crew, right? I'm working with guys that have been at my department on my crew for way longer than me. Some of them a year longer than me, some of them 10 years longer than me, right? But he doesn't just do that to me, but he does it to everyone. But like, now I have a sense of purpose and I feel valued by my company officer, right? That is how you gain loyalty. That's how you gain influence, right? And so now my loyalty might not lay within my department or my organization, but it lies within my crew, right? And that's a part of my organization. So I think if a company officer can get that through their head, is like, I have to find ways to show my guys that I care about them and I value them and give them a purpose, right? You have a super plugged in EMS guy. Guess what? He's leading the EMS training. He's doing all the EMS supplies. You have a guy that's super clicked into the ladders and on the truck. Like, you're teaching a ladders class, right? Find what makes people tick, what their passions are, and give them the freedom to teach that to people, right? And you just sit back and watch, right? As the company officer, that's how you keep people. That's how you retain the people on your crew. Right. And that's helping the department. But this is I'm just more or less speaking on the crew level, the company level. And I don't know if your views differ any there. What's your thoughts?
Well, so I mean, yeah, we're talking about a retention, right? I think that's the majority of where we determine whether we want to stay in a fire department or not, is a lot of the firehouse culture, crew culture. Tip of the hat to Jeremy Sanders with his crew first culture mantra, right? But I think you touched on something that actually got me thinking. So you understand the phrase of, surround yourself with people that make you better and bring you up, or even saying, if you surround yourself with 5 millionaires, you're soon to become the sixth, right? I've never thought about it this way, but put yourself in one of those millionaires' seats, and now you got a guy that's not a millionaire. And it's your responsibility as a group to make that person a millionaire. I've never thought about that phrase like that until you just said it, because that's how we should be in the fire service. The crew, before we get the new guy, we are millionaires. We made it, right? We're in the fire service. We're in the best profession in the world, hands down, because we make it so. But now we get a new guy and he's not a millionaire yet. It's our job to make you a millionaire. And I think that is a great message for senior firefighters, company officers, or those guys that just got off probation and they know exactly what needs to be done around the firehouse. And then you incorporate that mentorship. I think that is a thing that's missing in the fire service, right? Is having someone guide you from the things that you don't know you should be doing, or the things that you shouldn't be doing, but you don't know you shouldn't be doing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I've been in that situation where I've been around a group of guys and they're like, "Oh, Joe Schmo is over here doing this, and he's a complete moron for that." And I'm like, "Well, does he know he's not supposed to be doing it? Did you actually pull him aside and have a conversation?" Well, no, but he's an idiot. And I'm like, well, maybe if you told him he's not supposed to do that, then he'll learn. And now there's no more problem. There's no more topic to discuss. But we're so used to that in the fire service where we like to gnaw on each other's weaknesses and expose them to everybody else because it's fun to laugh at other people's misery in the fire service for some reason.
Well, let me ask you this, because this was brought up to my attention, and I never in my life thought about it this way. Okay. How many people are on your crew typically?
We generally have 5 in the firehouse.
Okay. So
3
I
on
work
an
at
engine, 2 on a medic.
Okay. So your engine company, right? Or you, on the fire ground. Okay. You have one new guy. Okay. I could speak, let me put it in terms like this, because I know you swing around a lot, right? Like I'm with my same crew all the time. Okay. We have 8 dudes at my firehouse, 2 on the medic, 3 on the engine, 3 on the truck. Okay. We all work with each other every single shift. We all have a great working relationship with each other, right? And we get swung a new guy, okay? In my opinion, or in your opinion, who's in more danger there, right? Is it us 7 or is it that one guy? Because in the fire service, right? In the fire service, it's this common thing that the new guy has to earn our trust, right? But I can assure you that that new guy is looking at you to earn his trust, or, for you guys to earn his trust, or the vice versa. I'm trying to say it.
We expect them to earn our trust, but we need him to earn. Yeah, you got me all twisted up.
I know it's twisted up. Anyways,
earn our trust, so us to earn his trust.
The normal expectation is for the new guy to earn the crew's trust, right? When in reality, it should be opposite. The crew, he should earn the crew's trust, because you guys all work together every single shift. You guys know what makes each other tick, right? He has no clue who you are, any background information, what kind of fireman you are, and he gets dumped out on a structure fire with you guys, and he has no clue what to expect, right? So same thing. It's our duty, right? For this guy, we want his trust, and he wants our trust, right? It doesn't need to be one-sided. So that guy's really in more danger, that one person, because he has no clue about any of you. Now, yes, you take it to account. Like, I'm not saying like grave danger, like he's going to die or anything, but you guys all have this great working relationship, and he's the outcast. So we have to find a way to bring those people in.
Yeah.
We got there eventually.
That's a good point. We did. I never really thought about that either, man, because if I'm getting hired onto a new fire department and I got a wife and kid at home that expects me to come back home, but I work for a crew that doesn't trust me, I don't trust them, we don't have that relationship established, but now we have these like ridiculous expectations set upon us as the new guy. But I don't know if the crew that I'm going on a structure fire on is going to be a liability to me, or they're going to get me injured or hurt because of, like you're saying, we don't have that trust factor set up. And how do we establish that trust? That's relationships, right? Let's dial it back into retention. I want to feel safe when I come into work. Not safe from pranks and jokes. I'm saying I want to be with a crew that if I know I get entangled or disoriented or whatever, some meth head pulls a knife on me, I want to know my crew is going to put themselves in between me and that harm. And obviously that's really hard on day one. But that's what we should be focusing on, establishing that relationship and trust and that family and brotherhood aspect. I guarantee you now, firefighters they care more about that in your fire department than they care about your freaking salary and benefits. Because I'll go down the road and work for 10, 15, 20 grand less in Colorado because we get paid pretty well, and go work for a culture where I know these dudes got my back, and the organization. And let's get outside the walls of the firehouse, up the chain and down the chain. Do I have chiefs that actually care about firefighter wellness, my own rest and recovery? Are they doing things to help me with my nutrition and my finances and my family, dynamic? Do I have people that truly care in my organization? Or do I have chiefs at the top that I see maybe once or twice a year because they're obligated to make rounds to the crews and give us an update, and then I don't ever see them again? And the only time they ever even see my name is when they're moving me from this station to this station on some online platform to fill in the ranks so that I can go run the calls to bring in revenue for the firehouse so they can build a fire station in their name. Is that the type of fire department I'm working for? Or am I working for one that guys are going to lay their life down the line for me if I need them?
Yeah.
That's what we want. That's retention, ladies and
And
gentlemen.
what you're talking about is the feeling of security, right? Like, I was talking to a guy and he was telling me, a different department than I work for, but he was telling me like he has felt secure for the majority of his career. And through some changes, through some administrative changes throughout his department, he said, I'm finding myself in a position where I do not feel secure anymore, right? Now he's looking at going to another department. So everything you just said is valid through real life experiences through other people, right? And I'm just putting an experience with exactly what you said. We all want that security, right? We want that security from our crew, from our chief officers, and from our administration, right? It goes back to this, dude. And realistically, we could have recorded the retention part in about 20 seconds when I say that people want to feel valued, right? And that's an umbrella term. They want to know that you have their back. They want to know that just because they make a true and honest mistake, that they're not going to get sent through the ringer, right? And have to worry about, getting fired or getting time off without pay. Like, yes, I understand that certain things need to be punished, right? Because they are avoidable. But in the big scheme of things, like, dude, as long as you communicate to your people that you value them, you will keep them. Like I said at the beginning of the retention talk, there are people that we will not keep. They're chasing money. They don't want to be, they don't want to be a blue collar fireman. They want to go work for the PR department, right? I know a department, and I'm not going to call them out, but they're one of the highest paid departments in the state of Texas, and they still hire all the time. Why do you think that is? It's not, they're not keeping people because of their pay and benefit. I've talked to people that have went there and left and came back, or, went there and left and went back to their old department. It's because of the culture there and the lack of feeling valued and the lack of a purpose, right? If people can get that through their head at a company level, at a chief, a battalion level, and at an administrative level, dude, like, you wouldn't lose the people that you don't want to lose. You will keep them. Like that's the sum of everything when it comes to retention. People want to feel valued. People want to feel heard, and people want a sense of purpose. And whenever they don't have that, they are going to go somewhere where they feel valued. They are.
Yeah, I mean, let's talk about the fire crews that are maybe just getting hammered with calls. Maybe they have a recurring 911 caller or something like that. Whatever the complaint is, right? A lot of times in certain departments, and a lot of departments, they tell their firefighters, stop bitching and run the calls, which is very valid most of the time, because a lot of times we just want to vent and complain about the stupid calls we ran or something like that. But another thing that needs to happen in an organization, you touched on it already, is communication. That communication, you ever heard the phrase bitching should travel up the chain of command, never down? Right? So my battalion chief should never be like, oh man, I just got out of a meeting with the fire chief and guess what they're going to do? It's so stupid. You should never hear that. Never, ever hear that from a battalion chief. What should happen though is the fire crews maybe are bitching about something that has some validity to it. And it goes to your company officer. The company officer should go to the BC and be like, hey, my guys are really having a problem with such situation. I don't know if we can do anything about it, but this is what the number one thing that's on their mind right now. They can't think about anything else. We need to try to get it fixed. That goes to the battalion chief. Battalion chief maybe can squash it right there. He can make some phone calls, get the situation fixed or whatever. But what a good culture, a good fire organization is they don't just squash their firefighters and say, shut up and run the calls. You do actually have to hear that from time to time. But the valid complaints need to get run up the chain of command because, like you said, we want to be heard. We want to feel like you care. We're getting our ass kicked. We were up 6 times after midnight last night. You know, whether that's just a little pat on the butt and be like, hey, good game, get your ass back out there. And it makes me feel a little bit better. Or, hey, you know what? We see that. We're tracking it. We're on it. Don't worry about it. Like, keep running the calls, keep your professionalism, keep giving that outstanding customer service, and know that the guys above you, we got your back. We're doing what we can to fix it.
Yeah.
How hard is that?
My friend calls a lot of that stuff low-hanging fruit, right? As far as when it comes from a leadership standpoint. And I'll reference Maxwell again, and he talks about his dad telling him, you know how you know someone needs to be told good job? And it's if they're breathing, right? Everyone wants that affirmation, right? Everyone wants to be told good job. And so as honestly, like as an administrator, as a leader, as a company officer, like a simple, like, I see you, hey, good job out there today. Like that. Wow. Okay. Thanks. That's free, bro. That's free. Saying good job or thank you, that's 100% free. And you could give that to anybody at any point in time. Right.
Yeah, and if people want to blame a generation for that, be like, oh, these wussies need to get, a hug and told they're doing a good job. General Patton did this shit in World War II. All right. He would constantly make visits to the front lines to let those guys that are in the trenches know, I see you. He'd go down there and shake their hands and just see how they were doing. And what does that do for them? It brought them up. It uplifted them. It gave them a reason why, again, because let's go back to the fire service. If the firefighters are told to shut up, run the calls day in and day out, that is what we are going to do. But on a morale level, we don't feel great. I feel like a pawn on a chessboard, dude. I feel like I'm just a revenue stream for you. If you prioritize your people, your number one asset in the fire service, which is the firefighters, if you didn't know, if we don't feel prioritized, we're not, once again, happy to come to work. And now we're going to go find someone else or some other organization that appreciates us.
You're going to go where you feel valued. Absolutely.
Right.
100%. 100%, dude. And so a lot, aside from feeling valued and stuff like that, like we've talked about that a lot. I think something to hit on real quick is just like a lot of the new studies in firefighter wellness that's coming out, right? The studies with the sleep cycles and 4896 and nutrition health. And I know a department up there, Spares department, right? They just got this freaking holy mecca of a workout equipment. And, they're prioritizing firefighter health and wellness, right? And, you hear, and I get it, like some of that stuff costs money and I understand like, budget costs and stuff like that, but stuff that we could start looking at more, like currently I still work at 24/48, right? And if I have to work overtime and I'm not, playing the world's smallest violin or anything, I did this to myself, but like I just got off a stint of 3 48s back to back, right? So 48 off 24, 48 off 24, 48, right? And I just got off this morning. I did that to myself. But I work 48s all the time. How nice would it be to have 4 days off and like get into the studies when it comes into sleep? And something that I'm waiting to see is there's starting to be some studies out there as it pertains to sleep and cancer. And as a fire service, rightfully so. Maybe some people are taking it a little too far with the clean cab concept, but we're starting to push the cancer stuff. And like I said, I'm all for it. I'm waiting to see how long it takes for us to get some valid stuff when it comes to the 4896 and sleep, or even, and I get that this is far-fetched for a lot of departments, but even the 2472 stuff, as well as the health and wellness, the prioritization of physical fitness and nutrition in the fire service, and specifically at the department level. I know, just talking about work schedule, and I could probably name off at least 10 people right now that live in my area that said if my department was 4896, they would come, because they work at a department that's 4896 right now and they never want to give it up. I know people that have left my department to go work for a 4896 department and they will not come back, or they won't ever go to another department that works 24/48s, right? I don't have that luxury. I don't know what 4896 is like, but all I do see is 4 days off with my family versus sometimes 1, sometimes 2 days off with my family, right? And I think that stuff, like you said, the work-life balance, a lot of the millennials and everything like that, is starting to become more prevalent, and it's very important to the newer-ish generations. And people are starting to flock to those departments. I've heard people calling departments, hey, what's your work schedule like? Oh, you work 24/48? No, thank you. And hanging up the phone, right? When otherwise they'd be, flocking.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of wanted to hit on that. I know you're kind of closer up there. I know a lot of Colorado departments that I've seen, and this, once again, just tying it all back in together, I know this through social media, prioritize health and wellness up there. Down here, I don't know a lot of places that are that extreme, if you will, but I know it's happening.
Yeah, for some reason, I feel like from the Rocky Mountains all the way to the West Coast, they definitely do prioritize a lot of things like firefighter wellness more than you gritty, just hardcore East Coast, Southerner firefighters. I don't understand. It must be a cultural thing, but I will say also, Spira's fire department, we call it the land of milk and honey out here in Colorado. It's nationally known because they have a PIO chief. Just touching back on what I was saying before, but yeah, they definitely take care of their firefighters. They prioritize it. With the 4896, it's good for a suburban fire department where you're not getting constantly hammered all the time. If you're running 30 plus calls, the 48's kind of brutal because you're absolutely wrecked. So that 4 days you have off, your first day, it's all recovery. And it's hard because if you're a dad like me, I got to go home and do dad stuff. I can't just
but
on
on that subject, like I look at it this way, and like I said, I work for a busy fire department, and I rode for 2.5 years the busiest fire department, or the busiest ambulance in the city, or the second busiest nonetheless. We averaged somewhere between 12 and 15 calls a shift. And and a lot of times it was more than that, but I would say like I would have rode a 48 on that thing if you give me 3 days off afterwards.
Yeah, sure.
Because if I go run 15 calls, right, now my one day is recovery, and now I have one day that's somewhat normal because I'm going back to work the next day, right? So there's two coins of that. And my department for a while had been split. Some of them were like no, some of them were like yes. We did a survey, and I don't remember exactly the details of it, but like the guys at the busy stations, they wanted it.
Yeah.
And they all they wanted it. And I get staffing levels and stuff like that is something to consider. But like I will ride a busy ambulance or a busy engine. We have busy engines too. If you give me 4 days off, I would do that. So
let me touch on this, dude. With the 4896, the organization has to understand for those busy houses that are maybe running up all night the first night, as the company officer, you have to let your guys give them an opportunity. If nothing's coming down the master calendar first thing in the morning, day 2, which there shouldn't, that's what I was going to touch on. Your organization should not be booking something at 8 in the morning on day 2 on a 48-hour shift because they don't know what that night looks like when we're talking about firefighter wellness. But if there is, then whatever, we'll show up. But company officers need to understand with the 48-hour shift, if your guys are smoked, you need to give them downtime. There's this mindset for some reason where company officers are like, we owe the community 48 hours, so we're going to be up at 7 a.m. every morning, and then we're at it until 6 p.m. till dinner time, and then we get downtime. Well, your crew's once again going to be burned out. Their output is not going to be great, and I'll tell you how I know that. This on my wrist is a Whoop. My organization was able to collaborate with our health insurance company to acquire 30 Whoop bands for people in our organization. And what we have started to see already is that the rest and recovery of our personnel on a 48-hour shift immediately puts you in the red after 2 days of just being on shift work. And in the red is, I think, below 15 or 20% as far as proper sleep and recovery. And that's why I said that with day 1, you're hurting. And the Whoop lets you know, like, when you feel sluggish and tired and exhausted, it's telling you why. It's telling you, like, hey, you got your ass kicked. And I just got off the phone with Josh Burchek. He runs the Fortune Unbroken page, and he's doing a lot of studies in the fact that people, they're monitoring with the Whoop bands. Guys are going out and fighting very tough structure fires or doing very tough trainings, it's not just the physical strain that we put on our bodies, it's the emotional. The emotional stress that you put on yourself when you go into an IDLH with all the PPE and all the gear and the expectations and the duty that we owe to the community. When we're in that situation, our output is through the roof. So organizations need to team up with guys like Josh Burchek or incorporate some type of health tracker for their people and have this wellness message of, yeah, the 4896 is good for rest and recovery, but we're going to take it a step further and embrace an ideology of nutrition and fitness to make sure that your mind and body are resilient for the outputs and the demand that the community asks you for, because we're never going to deviate from what the community needs from us. They have expectations. We're going to meet those expectations, but the organization overall needs to work on the wellness aspect of it, not just shut up and run the calls, but I see you. I see what you guys are doing. And I do think the 4896 and another thing on the 4896 is 2 will get you 10. So if you get 2 trades for 48, now you have your 4-day, 2 days for your shift day, and another 4. So you get 10 days off. That's like a vacation. So I love the 4896, other than maybe the 2472, which is, I think, would be the most optimal for the fire service, because you're still working 48 hours a week. That's more than the standard work industry, but you're also getting that 3-day recovery in between a 24-hour shift, which would be sweet.
Yeah.
Lastly, I'll touch on this. There's another organization in Colorado, Front Range Fire, Chief Mike West. He used to be from South Metro Fire, but he's the fire chief up at Front Range. They actually trial ran starting at 1900 instead of 0700 in the morning. And I talked to a few guys about that. They had their BCs do it for 6 months, and then they had their line personnel do it for a year, and then they voted on it. And then it was almost unanimous that the guys liked the 1900. So think about this, dude. Generally, we come in at 0700. We check our rigs, we check our packs, we do our muster in the morning, we see what the master calendar is, we do our training, we do our workouts, we do all this stuff, and then we're at mercy of the community at night. How about this? Come in at 1900, so you get to spend the day with your family, or you get to do the things that you needed to do around your house. You slept in your own bed that night, and then you go into work at 1900. You still check the rigs, you still check the pack, you still do your muster with the crew, but then you go into night prep and you get ready for what the community asked you for. You're more fresh to respond to the community the first night, but let's say you get one call in the middle of the night. So that 12 hours from 1900 to 0700 is almost like a wash. Now you have another 36 hours at the firehouse, but you were in night mode, and now 0700 the next day, you have 36 hours to now accomplish everything that you need to do. And I don't know about you guys, but when we're off going at 0700 in the morning, I'm up at 5:30, packing all my stuff up, washing the rigs, making sure the station's clean for the oncoming crew, because when you're getting relieved, you always want to point out all the stuff the crew before you screwed up. So we're up early trying to fix all that stuff. Imagine if you didn't have to get up at 5:30 in the morning to go to work and to go home from work. Now you're going home at 1900. And instead of me having to getting home at 7:30 or 8 o'clock and having to do dad duties, my kid's already in bed, or I get to tuck my kid in the bed. And now I get to just go straight into night prep at home.
Yeah.
They're starting to see that 48 with the 1900 actually feels more like 36.
I do like that concept, though, especially because, like, you know, if you do get your butt kicked and you go home at 7, like, you're really not expected. The expectations there, like, you're going to get to go home and spend some time with family, and then you get to go to sleep. So that, yes. I do like that concept. And just reeling it back into, like, retention, right? Like, the guys want to see that kind of stuff. Like, once again, they want to feel seen and heard. So if you guys want, you know, a wellness program, they want this, they want that, they want 4896, they want, like, I do think that as an administration, as an organization, you owe it to the guys to at least look into it. Like, hey, we guys hear what you want, and we're going to look into it and see if that's applicable or even, you know, doable for our department, right?
Yeah.
That's all we want. That's all we want.
Say, we hear you, we're going to try it because that's what you wanted, and then you're going to vote on it. And then whatever you guys want, the administration will work to make it happen.
Dude, yeah. I love that. Preston, bro, another solid one in the books. I think this is going to be good. Dude, what's next for you? What do you have coming up? Where are you going to be at? I'll kind of share mine after yours.
So I got two for sure lined up, two conferences. That's the Mile High Fire Conference and the Wichita Hot. I'll be at Wichita Hot, I believe, is in October. So Mile High in September, Wichita Hot in October. I was going to be at Firemanship. I think you're going to be there, but I had to focus on my family and turn that one back in, and I'm going to take the family out on a vacation instead.
Heck yeah. Yeah, so I am going to be at Firemanship this July, next month, or in July. It's going to be such a fun time, dude. I'm trying to get prepped and ready for that. I don't want to go up there and make a fool out of myself. I'm taking a couple brothers in battle courses, so I've heard it'll be my first time, so I think that it's going to be some good training. Other than that, yes, I'm also going on vacation, but I will be at, and I want to give this a good shout out, and I fully anticipate it selling out, but the Castillo Way Conference is going to be down in Houston in August, put on by the guys same guys that put on the Dagum Fire Conference. If you haven't been to a Dagum, you need to go. But it's the same guys that are putting it on. So many great instructors for a great cause. Jesse Castillo. If you haven't heard his story, you could check out TBM. We did an episode with Lieutenant Joe Johnson down at Porter Fire, and he kind of gives us a backstory of who Jesse is and what he's going through. And I'll speak a little bit. He was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer, and he's, I think 30 years old, right? And he's got some kids. He's married, and he's just going through a really tough time right now. And all proceeds for this conference are going to be going directly to Jesse and his family. So give that a look, and make sure you get on it quick. Because like I said, I'm almost positive that place is going to sell out quickly. I will be down there at least for the lecture day. I'm not fortunate enough to have that much vacation time, so and I'm pretty tapped out with shift trades, so I'll at least be down there for the lecture. And then I will also be down in Baytown for the For Them conference down in November. So I also did an episode with Nathan Pips, who's putting that on. Make sure you go check it out, get some main details on it. I'm pretty sure it's sold out. So if you're going to be there, we'll be there, and we'll see you there. Be on the lookout for future episodes, streaming right here through Firefighter Nation. We're going to be on a steady roll. Hopefully, we're going to be bringing on some guests here pretty soon. And hopefully you guys are enjoying the Q&A style, just hitting some hot topics, some back and forth banter between Preston and I. And like we said at the beginning, man, if you find value in this show, just please share it. Share it with your friends, share it with your crew, share it with your fire chief. They might want to hear it too.